We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for the Appropriations Subcommittee on Economic Development. Welcome, Chairman Larry O'Neill. Glad to have you here. I don't think we have any other surprises. I'm sorry. Chairman Ron Stevens from Savannah. Not Savannah, but Savannah. Okay. Would you like to join us up here? Okay. Can't see you on the internet. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and start with the Commissioner Craig Lesser with the Economic Development. Commissioner, we're glad to have you and your staff. So, talking about the amended 06.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
Chairman O'Neill, Chairman Stevens, members of the committee, good morning. Our amended 06 budget does not entail too many changes. The majority of them, the vast majority with one exception, are housekeeping items. The one exception is a request to provide funds to replace 2 motor vehicles for business recruitment activities. We have in our fleet 2 1997 Ford Aerostar vans, and as you know, members of the committee, we are escorting prospects around the state when they come in. These vans have significant mechanical problems. They are almost 10 years old, and quite frankly, they don't show very well for the state of Georgia. So we are requesting the amount there, which I think is in the neighborhood of, forgive me, Mr. Chairman, $56,000. Mr. Chairman, there are, not listed on here though, but having arisen as an issue for us, is travel expenses, and that is comprising three individual areas. One is reimbursement for mileage, which of course has gone up significantly as a result of the gasoline costs. The gasoline costs themselves for our fleet. And the third and equally important area has been our increase in international travel. And Mr. Chairman, if I might take a moment just to share with you some of the elements of that international travel, which I think may be of some significance to you and the members of the committee. Regarding our international, as you may recall, we have embarked on a very aggressive international marketing campaign around the world to sell the state of Georgia for not only business opportunities but tourism as well, and that to go along with the marketing campaign. We now have 10 international offices around the world that report to our department. Two of those are Georgia state employees. The rest are contract employees of the state, but very aggressive as well. The international nature of what we're doing has dramatically increased over the last few years, but particularly in the last year or two. We now have 52 consulates in Atlanta, most recently increasing the number through our South American efforts with Honduras, El Salvador, Brazil, and Guatemala most recently. We have committed to supporting Delta Airlines in their efforts on the international direct flights in and out of Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, which have been a terrific boon to business opportunities, not only here in Georgia, but as we sell ourselves as a logistics state, being in the center of the fastest growing part of the United States, the entire Western Hemisphere has determined that it is very helpful to be able to get through Atlanta, which is a far better airport itself than going through the traditional port they've gone through in Miami. In addition to that, of course, our efforts have been to work very closely with the Georgia Ports Authority, which has done an outstanding job of selling the state of Georgia, and they are now the fastest growing port on the East Coast. We also have 31 bilateral chambers, but most significant as it relates to our request here for approximately $120,000 is that our outbound and diplomatic missions to improve and enhance these opportunities increased from 8 in 2004, 8 of these missions, to 20 in 2005, and we expect that number to reach at minimum 25, maybe even 30 during the course of this year. And all of that, again, is to enhance our international opportunities. The inbound business missions that we support went from 7 last year to 12, and that includes vice presidents of countries leading business missions to our state. The number of markets for Georgia to export products we have now identified as 224 countries that consume Georgia products. We want to make sure that that number stays consistent and continues to grow.
Any questions from the committee? Chairman O'Neill.
Good morning, sir.
This is not so much a question as a comment, and I hope you'll take it in the vein it's intended to be. We had the financial subcommittee meeting yesterday where the fellow from banks and banking and the financial institutions, those agencies, testified yesterday before Subcommittee on Appropriations. And I saw an interesting statistic that I think I attribute a whole lot to your enthusiasm and your effectiveness since you've been in office. We had, just since you've been our commissioner, an 18% increase in money in financial institutions in Georgia, literally over about the last 11 months. I doubt that's precedented anywhere before. And I would just commend you for that and your staff and others. And and hopefully that your enthusiasm can stay at the level that it is. But I just want you to know, from my constituents and myself, how much we appreciate your efforts, and I know they go way beyond the normal 8-hour workday. And it's a passion with you, and you've been a great steward of the taxpayers' money in this state as well in doing it, which is also phenomenal. So, for all those reasons, I'd just like to say thank you for a job well done, and please keep it up.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for those comments and your support, but I take that as a compliment to the whole team, the entire state of Georgia working on this effort. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else from the committee? Yes.
I know to speak about Development Day, but I want to say thank you as well. The governor was in Columbus on yesterday, and I see Representative Smith here. He was there yesterday as well at our chamber meeting, and had not been for you and the department and the governor and all those working in Columbus on the economic development with AFLAC, we would have seen the loss of 2,000 jobs in that region. And my hat's off to the department, and I just want to thank you for your leadership in that area.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Are we asking questions about the budget? Yeah. I thought I didn't know. Doing a good job. It's my turn to say you're doing a great job. On the 2006 budget, just for clarification, the payments to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame were removed, put back.
During the last legislative session, through the legislation last year, the Georgia Music Hall of Fame was placed in our department. It was moved over from the Department of Community Affairs over into our department as we begin to aggregate the tourism initiatives in the state. So those dollars, I think, ended up, I think that your question, Representative, has to do with some housekeeping arrangements.
It just didn't look right on paper.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
Strange. On the 2000 budget, there was a 70% increase for innovation and technology. On there, I just wanted to, it went from...
And which budget is that?
In the 2007?
Yes, sir. That's additional money that will go as a result of the governor's recommendations in the Commission for New Georgia Strategic Industries to focus on bio and bioengineering.
Similar to what we did last week with the placement of the company over there in Georgia Tech?
Yes, sir. Is to continue that.
Fantastic. And then a 30% increase in the Small Minority Business Development Fund?
Yes, sir, and that's associated with one additional person that we'll have. We have, again, as a result of the governor's executive order last year, the governor's Office of Small Business and Entrepreneurship was moved over to our department, and we have integrated that department into the entire effort to recruit business and to expand business. So what we've done there is really taken a great assessment and a great look at where those small business opportunities are around the state and how we can help those small business people and entrepreneurs around the state. The demand continues to grow, and I think, as we all know, that's where most of the jobs in the state come from, small and medium business. We want to be able to provide that resource to those that growing audience.
Fantastic. I was just going to say, it looks like you just had an overall increase of about 6% from last year's budget, and like what Chairman O'Neill said, with the 18% increase in revenues in Georgia, I think that's a great investment in Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If we could, let's stick to the amended, if we could, Representative. Yeah, amended budget. Commissioner, I hadn't totaled this up, but lines 128, 29, 30, 31. What's the total on those realignments?
$0 on the realignment.
Okay. And to realign the staff for personal service funding to reflect the agency reorganization efforts, $260,000.
It's a net impact of 0.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner, for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate Representative Smiley's comments in regards to Columbus. I do want to ask you about the strategy. As you know, in Albany, we recently lost Bob's Candies, the world's largest manufacturer of candy canes, as well as the announced closing of Merck Chemical. Is there a state strategy that you're looking at to help economically depressed Southwest Georgia?
Absolutely. And in fact, as you know, we came down as soon as those announcements were made. We were down within 48 hours to work with the local community officials and local political and economic development officials, as well as the plant folks. That is why we have enhanced our marketing campaign, to make sure that people around the world in this very, very competitive environment know that we have resources in Southwest Georgia that are available, ready, and open for opportunity. So the notion right now is that we leave nothing unturned. But the critical issue for us, Representative, is that we have to market, because everybody is trying to lure investors. And it's not just a competition, as we've spoken about many times. It's not a competition just in the Southeast anymore. We're competing on the world level, and we've got to aggressively market in every way we can everything we do. And I think a fundamental element of that is the kind of teamwork that I believe we have and have developed, and it has been there way before I came into this job. But the kind of relationship that the State Department of Economic Development has with the local economic development officials.
No other questions? Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to try to finalize this tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Since we're going to be in recess Friday, I had planned to have a meeting at 8, but we're going to change it to 3 and finalize the recommendations, which we've got to have ready Monday.
Great.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many Chairman, good to see y'all. Great to be here. Didn't have any burning trucks on the way in on I-85, so got in here. I just have to tell you, it's this process. It's such a good process, this budget process. I appreciate the governor challenging us as agency heads to look at what we do and to do it better. And I appreciate you all as you help us make these documents even better. So it's great to be here. I'm on page 31 of the governor's budget, and that will be, and I'm going to really only discuss two different things, would be the tracking document, item 10, and then also item 13. And then, of course, if you've got questions, most of the other things in our 06 budget. So we're on page 31 of the governor's budget. This is the 06 amended budget, and I'm going to talk about, if you got questions on the other, certainly we'll work with you on that. But item 10 on your tracking document, Mr. Chairman, and item 13. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, do you have a tracking document too?
Right.
Item 47.
Okay. All right. Maybe I got the wrong. Don't want to confuse you. But most in this 06 budget we're looking at is housekeeping. We've got two great agencies that are passed through. One is GFA and Greta, and of course they'll talk about their budgets here in just a moment, and it is attached to us administratively. So I'll let them talk about that. You'll see on the REBA funds, which is on the state economic development, the increase to $6 million. And once again, I applaud Craig and his staff, the local folks. We're really looking, this is about jobs and opportunity. This is deal closing money, incentives, and we've had just talking about partnerships. I really have enjoyed the partnership with the Department of Economic Development as we work together with communities to bring those jobs and opportunity to fruition. And so that is an increase, but I think I applaud the governor for that increase, and looking forward to working with the Department of Economic Development to make that a reality. The other item on the payments to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, as you know, we transferred that to the Department of Economic Development. We completely supported that. We think it fit, with their strategy for tourism. And I'll have to say, if y'all haven't been down there, they got, that's a great, how many of y'all have been, if you haven't had a chance to go there, it's just a great facility. And, they got everything from the Gold City Quartet to Leonard Skinner down there. There's some good stuff. But that's a transfer of, I think we're looking at $767,039. So Representative Forrester, that's what you were alluding to. So those are the two primary changes in our 06 amended budget. And once again, I just want to say, having served in the House with several of y'all and also over in the Senate, just appreciate what y'all do with this committee, and thank you for helping us move Georgia to that next level of greatness, which we all want.
Questions? Anybody? Okay, Representative Forrester.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Beatty, on the payments to the Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority, it went from 700 to 900. There was a 30% increase for GFA.
Yeah, I'm gonna, if it's okay, I know they're going to be coming up, but I want to give a little commercial for GFA because I'm on that board. When I look at an agency, an organization that's really impacting our state, was stepping out, working not only with the city of Atlanta, but I was trying to think the little cities of Tai, and I mean, it's all over the place. And these folks just do a tremendous job, and I appreciate what they do. And he'll talk about that. We were in the board meeting yesterday, and their responsibilities are growing, and they're having even a greater influence throughout the state.
Yeah, I've had to call them a couple times, and so I was kind of glad to see that.
Yes,
I just
sir.
want to see what the specifics were.
Yeah, I enjoy being on that board and working with them, and Paul Burks is we're probably not paying him enough. So. Thank y'all.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Thank you.
Mr. Burke, would you like to come up and address the committee, please?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Paul Burks. I'm Director of the Georgia Environmental Facilities Authority, known as GFA, and thank you, Commissioner Beatty, for your very kind words about GFA. Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to address the one budget item for GFA in the 2006 amended budget, if I could, to answer the question as well as address the committee on what the governor is recommending for us. The first thing I'd like to say, though, is those people who are familiar with our agency, we're very small, but familiar with us, know that pretty much what we do is water and sewer financing for cities and counties throughout the state. That's our main thing. But in our office, in our agency, for many years now has been what's called the State Energy Office. It's called the Division of Energy Resources. The state's had an energy office really in effect for about 30 years now, and actually I worked in that office for many years. That office has a variety of responsibilities related to energy data collection in the state, providing energy programs across the state for energy efficiency, coming up with the state energy emergency plan, which we used this past fall when we had the gasoline crisis and natural gas issues. But one of the things that the governor would like to do going forward is that he would like to develop a state energy plan. Georgia has never had a state energy plan before. And in part of that, to get that process started, and this is obviously after the impacts of Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita. As you all know, as you all well know, the impact it had on gasoline supplies in the region, and the impact it's had on natural gas and pricing in the region, and other impacts it will have going forward as far as future planning is concerned, looking at the cost of these fuels and the availability. And so as a part of that, what the governor wants to do, he announced this in October, he wants to develop a state energy plan over the next few months to a year. And to get that process started, he has put a recommendation to you in this budget, fiscal year 06, to add $200,000, which would come to our agency if approved by you, for us to begin that process of putting together a state energy plan. That's the reason for the $200,000.
Any questions from the committee? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I was just checking, sort of off the 06 budget. In Ringgold, we have an interceptor project with Moxon Bend, Chattanooga. Were we able to coordinate that through GFA?
Not recently. Look at Greg. No, not late. We do have a project we did a long time ago up in that area, but not recently. They have not contacted us recently.
They're going to need some help coming up. Thank you, Mr.
That'd be great. Love to work with them.
Any other questions? I have one, Paul. I know you issue a lot of these bonds for cities and counties, and I guess some authorities. Is that true?
Well, the way it works is we don't really issue bonds.
Okay.
The state sells bonds for
Correct.
us and provides us the GO bond funds, and then we can make loans to any city, any county, any water authority. So we do work with all three.
Let's see, I've been here 12 years. Has anybody ever defaulted in paying?
No, sir. No, sir. We're
Never
proud of
have.
that. Everybody, we have some slow pays from time to time, but we work with them and get them back in the system, but we've never had a default.
What recourse do you have back to a city or county?
If they don't, the main recourse we have is that as we're a state agency and, of course, they're governmental units, if they are having problems, if they can't pay us, the law allows us to literally go in there and have the city council or county commission raise the taxes of the taxpayers to pay back the loans. We've never done that. We don't want to do that. Instead, we do such things as we usually go in and work with them and take a look at their finances, ask them to maybe look at their rates. What are their rates? What are they paying? A lot of times we find small communities where their rates are so low sometimes that they really need to do some rate work so they can better maintain their system and pay off the debts that they have. So a lot of it we do is just sort of working with them to come up with a plan that works for them. And a lot of times we can refinance their debt somewhat over time if they've got themselves too stretched out. But we've never had a default, and we don't want to have a default, so we'll work with them.
What if we had a Katrina hit Savannah, or I'll use a tornado hit Gainesville, which they have in the past? What would you do?
As far as
A catastrophic loss of paying, or New Orleans situation could be 5-10 years out. What would the state do?
as far as the water and sewer is concerned?
Yeah, and paying a debt. What?
Well, usually when you have something that's that catastrophic, that's when the federal government steps in through FEMA. And through FEMA and through the other federal agencies, they actually can go in, depending on the cost, they actually can go in and rebuild all the water systems for communities. And so by doing so, they would, in effect, rebuild those systems. And as that city gets back on its feet, then we would work with them to get our money back for the loans that we've made to them. Plus, I'm sure they have insurance on some of their facilities as well, beyond just the federal disaster. For instance, a good example of this is in Macon. When the 94 flood came through Macon, their water treatment plant was pretty much destroyed by the flood. It was I think it was about a $90 million facility, and FEMA, in effect, rebuilt their facility for them and at no cost to Macon.
That's good to know. No other questions? Thank you for being with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Commissioner of Agriculture, Mr. Tommy Irvin. I save the best for last.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I've been impressed with what has been mentioned here this morning. Probably a lot of you are not aware that agriculture sectors give us the greatest job growth over the last 3 years of any other segment of our economy. And your Department of Agriculture has been intimately involved in all those ventures, especially the new poultry plant in Moultrie, and the expansion and change of ownership in poultry plant in Perry, and additions all over the state. And you may not even be aware of the fact that GFA was originally under a subdivision of our department, and I was on the original board and helped draft the legislation that created what we worked out to be a great organization. So some of the things we've done in the past, I think you're proud of and we're proud of, and I think our cities and counties are better off for having these operations in place. Getting back to the tracking sheet, I want to say in my opening statements to you, some of you out there has had a lot to do with what's in this budget document, and I certainly want to thank the governor for his consideration, because he did his best to be very, very good to the department in some areas of critical need. The first item is, of course, it's passed through the workman's compensation increase. It's some $48,871.68. No, I got that one. $49,963. Item 32 in the tracking document is some much-needed technology, $105,000. Line 33, $245,000 in technology. Replace 50 vehicles. I know some of you on this panel has been very helpful there. We thought we hadn't had any cars in our budget in 3 years, and we have authorized 295 vehicles. and some of those have broke down and been trashed and towed out to the surplus yard, and we desperately need this, and the governor was very kind to us, and I hope you will see fit to see that this is funded. One thing was left out of the Poultry Improvement Association was the salary increases for the current year we're in. It got dropped out because it's under contract, and the governor recommended that funding as well. One of the things we'd like to ask you to consider for us that's not in the governor's recommendation was $10,000 in our weights and measures program. Is when we figured the actual cost of implementing that technology, we were $10,000 short. In the field of automation of food safety was $147,236 short. And we would hope you would consider that. And one other desperate need, and James is here from the Poultry Improvement Association. All of you, if you haven't heard of bird flu, you should have. And we need a piece of equipment that will enable them to do something that's very desperately needed in the safety of our food items and for our poultry industry as well. A piece of equipment that's going to cost $160,000 and $10,000 to get it online for a total of $170,000. We think that's a critical need, and had we had that earlier, I think we would have been able to get that to the governor and get in his recommendation, because it will allow us to increase our numbers of blood samples from roughly 100,000 to maybe as much as 350,000 samples for the next 12 months. And if anyone knows about trying to track and ascertain when something might break out, it'd be very harmful to our public and to our industry. The sooner you know, the quicker you can get your arms around it, the quicker you can quarantine, the quicker you need pop, and allow you to respond much swifter. Any questions?
Commissioner, on the additional request of $170,000, if that is approved by the committee and your department's granted that $170,000, will that $170,000 accomplish everything that you're needing to accomplish, or will there still be other needs for additional staffing or additional training or other support type of equipment?
Major thing this equipment is going to do is take some pressure off of staffing.
Okay.
Because it has to be done by hand now, and this will be able to automate it and do it much swifter and much faster with less pressure on the staff. We have a desire to increase our number of samples now, but you just can't do it when you have to do it manually, and this allows us to do it with technology.
Well, understanding how critical this is, what I want to make sure is if you're approved the $170,000, that it accomplishes what James needs accomplished there in the center, and that he's not at a handicap by lacking funding for training to use the equipment appropriately or any other accessories that may not be included with it.
Well, James here, he can answer that question better than I can. He runs the program, but come on up, James.
Sometimes we approve these things and then we later find out something was missing and you couldn't use the equipment the way it was intended to be used. So.
Just to emphasize the importance there on the...
Go to the mic, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, just to emphasize the importance, the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitutional Business section has about the bird flu and the concerns there on that, and everyone has seen the media about this. And to answer your question there about that, this will give a basic robotic liquid handling system, but really to be fully automated so it's a walk-away system, it would take probably another $100,000 to be able to do that, which we would love to. If we ever have an outbreak, we will need that to be able to operate this thing 24/7 to be able to do that. So to answer your question, yes, this is just a basic model, and with another $100,000, we could get the additional stuff to be able to walk away from the machine and run it 24 hours a day.
If we were to ever be unfortunate to have avian flu to show up here in Georgia, the quicker you can handle the issue, needless to say, the better it'll be for everyone. If we were to have avian influenza to hit Georgia and the Gainesville area, it would cost this nation of ours billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars. And we think this investment in a piece of equipment would be very worthy.
Commissioner, good to have you here. This food safety, I don't know how many people realize how important it is that you check all the food that, and then you go in the grocery stores and check the fruits and vegetables.
18,000 establishments.
One of the things that I've been real concerned about for the last several years when I discovered that food that so much is being imported now from other countries, and we had checked with the federal government and found out less than 1% of all the food that comes to this country, especially seafood, is checked just less than 0 to 1%, and mainly where they have had problems. And my question is, when it gets in these stores and you have these 86% of the shrimp imported that we use in this country is imported from foreign countries, for shrimp and grapes and all the produce is being from Chile and other countries. Did your inspectors also look at this?
We check everything at the retail level. We actually go in and check the shelves. Well, you may have saw the media the last couple of weeks where we found some rodent-infested stores where we took some action against them. If you saw that network program this past weekend, I thought it treated Georgia real well. The only thing they found in Georgia with that extensive undercover program was one restroom where the water temperature, we'd allowed them to turn it down where it wouldn't scald the kids when they went to wash their hands, and they said that the water temperature was not high enough. And one other area where you cook chicken, and we do allow you to sell it without it being under refrigeration if you do it within the first, 12 hours. If you don't sell it within the first 12 hours, you have to dump it. And that's the only thing they found in Georgia, and they found several instances in Texas, North Carolina, and Florida, and surrounding states. And I thought we came out very clean, because I think we've got an excellent program. But we do need the technology to make sure we keep up with modern technology. We're falling behind, as we've told you in past presentations to your committee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other questions? Okay, Chuck Shy. Okay, you're
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, I appreciate the job that you do. I want to tell you that. I know you come up to Cherokee County quite often, visit with us there. The items that are on the additions to the governor's recommendation, these came up after the submission to the governor?
We think on the question of the technology, we think they computed the wrong figures and come up short. That's what the budget folks over there tell us. I think the governor would have recommended those. The only thing that's new in that recommendation is this piece of equipment, and we got that request after we'd already submitted our budget.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much.
Commissioner, what are the odds of avian flu hitting Georgia? What do y'all feel like the odds are?
Well, Mr. Chairman, as you well know, when we had the low path up in the eastern states, Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, we put in some very stringent requirements of sanitation and movement from farm to farm. We did not allow movement from farm to farm, and we escaped the bullet because of our precautionary measures. We will have those in place if it shows up anywhere else in the U.S. But most people say it's not a question whether, it's a question when we'll have it here. So it's a worldwide epidemic. I don't think anybody can tell you that they will escape it. I always want to make sure we have everything in place. If it does hit us, we can immediately respond, we can immediately quarantine, we can immediately depop, and we can keep it from spreading. Because in nations where they have the spread, they have no program to nip it in the bud before it has a chance to expand. I'll tell you about the hoof and mouth disease that, as you know, went on in England, I guess 4 years ago now. When I went over and met with that health division, made several recommendations. One of the major recommendations I made, Parliament approved it. They did not act swiftly. It was some 13 days after they found out they had it before they began to deal with it. You cannot allow a lapse of time. You got to have places, technology, and program in place to deal with it immediately. And I think we have that. I feel we have as good as there is anywhere in the world. Matter of fact, I hadn't worked out the details, but the ambassador of Israel, excuse me, I was trying to get my country straight. Ambassador of Israel has asked us to send one of our staff over to help teach them how to deal with this, and we can work out the mechanics of it. Dr. Lee Myers will probably fill that mission for our department. I think it'll be a great thing for Georgia to have an opportunity to be involved in international prevention of the spread of terror and things that might affect the food supply in their country as well as food supply here.
Any other questions? Anyone? I was going to ask James Cross to come back and address the committee if you would. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Many of you don't know James, but he is in Hall County and he heads up all the poultry diagnostic labs all over the state. Does a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to do an intro for you.
I appreciate that very much. Our staff is working very, very hard there with this avian influenza situation going on. Just to give you a little glimpse about the testing, right now, 4 or 5 months ago when we had to prepare our budget, we were only doing 2,100 avian influenza tests by ELISA at that point in time. Currently, right now, we're doing 15,000. This was per month. Now we're doing 15,000 tests per month. And when everyone gets on board, what under the current program, for every flock that's out there being raised, we have to test 11 samples from each one of those flocks. 11 from each one. And there's 5 million birds in Georgia a day going to slaughter. 5 million every single day. So that's a lot of chicken out there that's being tested. So at the point when there's 100% of everyone being tested, we'll have 30,000 tests a month. So that's 15 times what we were currently doing 4 or 5 months ago when we had to prepare our budget. That's why this is important to us and why we need the help. With all this pipetting and the manual thing, the problems with carpal tunnel and all, our people are going to have a lot of problems with that. So this piece of automated equipment will be very, very helpful, and I appreciate you considering it there. Thank you.
Don't you tell us how many labs you have? I know you can't tell us where all they're located.
Yeah, I can do that there too. We've got the main lab there, which is almost like a hospital for humans. We have all the same departments that a hospital for humans would have: the bacteriology department, a virology, histopathology department, a clinics department, serology department. The main lab is up in Oakwood near Gainesville, and then we've got 9 branch labs located throughout the state, and those are in poultry growing areas, starting up at Dalton, Canton, over at Bowden. We've got one over at Carnesville, Forsyth, Montezuma, Douglas, Camilla, and I'm sorry.
Nashville.
And yeah, and for a total of 9 there. So yeah. But anyway, those are out there, and we've got a technician and a veterinarian at most of those labs. Due to budget cutbacks, we're not able to have a veterinarian at every one of those labs. We've got 2 labs where one veterinarian is covering 2 labs. But again, we've done that with budget cutbacks over the number of years. But the poultry industry being the largest poultry producing state in the nation here in Georgia, it's very critical to our state. And we appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
James, how many integrators do we have in the state now?
Well, we've got 21 broiler processing plants in the state. And some of them have more than one. There's probably, as far as the number of integrators themselves, there's probably around, with Sanderson Farms building the new plant that Commissioner mentioned down in Moultrie, I think there's 12 or 13 actual broiler integrators, but there's also breeder companies like Cobb, the Avigen, all those companies that produce the egg, the baby chicks that sell to all the integrators there too. So it's a huge, huge industry in Georgia.
How does the integrators themselves? I know they support you. They support you financially. What do they normally do?
Okay, and what we do as far as diagnostic cases for the labs, that is a free service there. Any diagnostic, even someone in the backyard that has a chicken that has a problem can bring it to us. We want to know where the diseases are. Any monitoring that is being done at the industry's request, we do charge for that. So we do get a fee for that to take care of the supplies and everything it costs us to run those tests.
Any questions? Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes this. What we'll do is tomorrow at 3,
adjourned.